Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Maryke. I'm the physiotherapist from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you can get online consultations with a physio via video call. So tonight's session is about osteoporosis and what type of exercise, as well as what volume of exercise you need to be doing to, first of all, prevent osteoporosis from happening to you. And secondly, if you have got it, what can you do exercise-wise to improve your condition? If you're new to this, how it works, if you've got any questions during the live stream, then pop them in the comments. I'll take a look at them and answer them as we go along. If you're watching this on replay, then feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll get back to them as soon as I see them. If you want to make sure I see them on Facebook, then tag me, Maryke Low, and I'll get back to them. Excellent. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to look at 4 categories. I'm going to look at what type of exercise you've got to do specifically to increase the strength of your bones. Then we're going to look at steady body. So what can you do to help your balance? And that's important because often if you have osteoporosis, you really want to be avoiding falls because you're more likely to fracture a bone. Then we'll have a look at a straight back. So what type of exercises can you do to maintain your posture? Because one of the problems with osteoporosis is that people get spontaneous fractures in their vertebral bodies, in their spines, which makes it collapse and pushes them forwards. Or they just get really painful spines that causes them to go forwards, and that position can cause pain in itself. And then lastly, we're going to look at why you should avoid sitting for very long periods at a time and how that affects your bone health and the rest of your body. Good, so let's get started. Strong bones. Now, I think most people who are interested in this topic would know by now that you need weight-bearing exercise and impact activities to stimulate bones. And it's literally the vibration that goes through the bone that stimulates them to grow and to thicken. So remember, how the body works is if you don't use something, it doesn't waste energy on changing it because it reckons you don't need it or that it's strong enough for what it's doing. But if you ask it to do a little bit more than what it's built for, then the body goes, oh, you need that to be stronger, let's strengthen it. And that counts for bones, ligaments, muscles, anything in the body. So if you do impact activity, the body reads that as a force going through the bone and it realizes it needs to strengthen it. Now, we get moderate impact activity and high impact activity. And for moderate activity, the current guidelines state that you should aim for about 20 minutes per day. So when we talk about moderate type of activities, it's things like walking, dancing, what else? Gardening, anything that puts force through your body. Then if we're looking at high impact activity, it is things like running or jumping or hopping. So for that, you actually only need 50 high impacts per day to stimulate your bone growth. But now, I want you to also consider the health of the rest of your body when you make your decision here. Because remember, it's not just your bones that benefit from this type of exercise. Your heart and your lungs and your circulatory system, your muscles, everything benefits from that. And we know that for general health, the guidelines at the moment is that you need about 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity activity to help your general health. So although you don't need that much impact activity, make sure that you get your total volume of moderate activity in a week, which comes to around 20 minutes. So you may as well combine the two. Then, yes, as I mentioned, that it helps for this type of activity because it's cardiovascular activity, also helps your lungs. It helps you maintain your blood sugar levels, which is really important because that affects the health of your bones and the rest of the body as well. It helps your balance and it improves your joint function. Second type of exercise that has a dramatic effect on bone health and bone density is strength training. And this is because when you do strength training, the muscles pull on the bones. And again, that's a stimulus for them to grow stronger. Now, volume-wise, what you need is between 2 and 3 sessions of strength training a week. That's more than enough for bone growth. And good news is all my runners in this group will know that that's what you pretty much need for injury prevention for running as well. So again, you're getting multiple benefits from the same type of exercise. Make sure that you include strength training for your legs, your back, as well as your arms, so that all the bones in the body get stimulated. And especially when you think of the added benefit for posture, back muscle strength is really important. Muscle strength is also important for balance. So they've got proven a direct link between weakness of the thigh muscles and increased risk of falls, but I'll get to that a little bit more in a minute. To summarize this section, strong bones, you need impact activity as well as strength training. For strength training, 2 or 3 sessions a week, but impact activity, 20 minutes every day. And if you can combine it with something that gets your heart racing, you'll also improve your cardiovascular fitness through that. Then the second type of, or the second thing that we need to work on is getting a steady body. So that can be done through 3 types of exercise. One is balance specific exercises. The second is strength training, actually, like I've mentioned a minute ago. And the third is activities that get you generally fitter, so cardiovascular fitness, getting your respiratory, your lungs and your heart and things fitter, and I'll explain why. So the reason balance is important, as I mentioned, if you've got osteoporosis, your bones break very easily, so you really want to be avoiding falls, and the best way to do that is to make sure you've got good balance. So balance exercises can come in many forms, and it's got to be the right level for you. So somebody who is really unbalanced, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, or has really poor balance rather, may find things like standing on one leg way too hard, and they may have to start with things like just standing with their feet really close together, or maybe tightrope stand and starting to work on their balance there. If balance is a big issue for you, there are physiotherapists who actually specializes in providing balance exercises. All physios can give you balance exercises, but especially if you've got issues with your inner ear or things like that, they call it vestibular exercises. There are specific physios who also specializes in those. So if balance is influenced by your ears, you may want to search out or look for somebody who actually specializes in those specific exercises. I find balance can improve really quickly, but you have to do those exercises often. So get into the habit of doing something every single morning. I tend to just stand on one leg and brush my teeth. And in the morning, the one leg gets the exercise, and in the evening, the other leg gets the exercise. Or you may find that you do that while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Make it part of your life. That is not something extra in there. But if you find that's too much for you, then you can also just add it into your strength training sessions. So if you do proper challenging balance exercises, doing them 3 times a week is already great. So for those type of things, you can think of yoga classes, Pilates classes, Tai Chi classes. Anything where your balance is challenged will improve it. But the added benefit of that is those classes also actually works on your muscle strength and your posture. So that's a really good bang for your buck if you want to choose one thing that does it all. Strength training, exactly the same as for bone health. You need to be doing it 2 or 3 times a week at least. And for balance sake, you really want to be including exercises for your legs as well as your back and your neck. And the reason for that is leg strength. If you're not strong in your legs, you're more likely to stumble. The back and the neck, if they are weak, you're more likely to be bent over forwards and slouched. And if you're not looking straight ahead, your balance is affected by that. And then cardiovascular fitness. The fitter you are in general, the less tired you will get when you do normal activities like going shopping or having to walk somewhere. As soon as you get tired, you're more likely to lose your balance because your concentration goes and your muscles don't work that well. So keeping that up throughout your lifespan is really important. That takes us on to the next one, which is a straight back. So like I mentioned a minute ago, or actually at the beginning even, when you have osteoporosis, you tend to be very prone to spontaneous fractures in the spine. And what that means is the vertebrae collapses a little bit and it tends to push people forwards. Now, that in itself can cause you to lean forwards, but also just the pain from the back can make you lean forwards to get away from it. So the two important components for a straight back is, first of all, posture exercises, which is usually a combination between flexibility exercises to actually give you the range of movement to be able to extend or be in the posture you should be in, and strengthening exercises to keep you in that posture, because if your back muscles are weak, they will get tired quite quickly and you'll find that you slump back. So if you're one of those people who keep on correcting yourself but then find yourself there again, then it may be a sign that actually you need to improve the endurance and strengthen your muscles, and then you'll be able to keep those postures. Again, a very good type of exercise for that is Pilates, because it will make you aware of how to move your spine and your body parts separately from each other and how to move them in the correct way, and it will give you the endurance in those muscles. And then the third component to posture exercises is balance. Oh, cool, I see people are joining us. Hi, Gemma. Hi, Maine. And balance exercises, the reason they help your posture is if your balance is bad, you're going to be looking down the whole time to try and stabilize yourself, and you're not going to walk in a nice straight line. So you have to combine those three things. Now, I put pain management in here as well, because if your back is painful or your neck is painful, you're not going to be able to keep it in a good posture. And there are loads of things that you can do to help decrease your pain. Now, medication is one of them, but we know for pain that's been there for a long time, a lot of medication doesn't actually work that well for it. You need to combine it with other things to help get your pain to a manageable level. And things that's been proven to be very effective is actually exercise. Of course, there's things that you can't do if you're in pain, but often there will be things that you can do. And again, it's useful to work with a physiotherapist to find the things that you feel is safe and you want to be doing, but what will also help your pain. Swimming is a good example for that, for the lower back, or cycling for knees and things like that. Low impact activities with a lot of movement. But you may find that that doesn't work for you. Sometimes it's just about going for a gentle walk. Then physiotherapy, hands-on physiotherapy can be quite effective as well, in that massage, acupuncture, loads of the techniques that physios use can actually be very effective in decreasing pain in the short term. And once the pain is under control, it helps you to then strengthen things up. And it's the strength training and the mobility exercises that will keep the pain at bay for longer. Then absolutely don't throw things like meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness. All of those things have been proven to be very effective in helping people to not necessarily take the pain away totally, but actually get it to a point where it's not ruling their life, where they can cope with it and get on with the things they need to be doing to get better. Then if we move on from that, the last thing is to avoid long periods of sitting. Well, first of all, it is a case of if you don't use it, you lose it. So for bones, if it's not getting that impact and it's not getting the stimulation of muscles pulling on it, then the body starts to degrade it over time. So a good idea there is, if you've got to sit for long periods of the day, break that sitting up. Go for short breaks, but make them active breaks. When we think of our muscles, if you don't use them during the day, sometimes they go to sleep a little bit. People like to say switch off, which is quite a strong, muscles don't ever fully switch off, but it's kind of the nerve supply to the muscles you don't use a lot during the day gets dulled down, because even nerves use energy. So you may be in a better place to get into your exercise in the evening if you just constantly say to them, "Oi, wake up" during the day. And then you may have heard me talk about this in the past, but remember, joints don't have arteries going into them. They need movement to get fluid in and out. So if you're sitting for hours on end, have you felt if you then try to get up, everything is stiff and it's like, oh, I can't move? And the reason for that is you've basically starved your joints throughout the day because you've not moved them. So again, a reason for your active breaks at work, or if you're working from home, or if you're just knitting. Anything where you're sitting for long periods of time, make sure you break that up. Then I'm going to briefly touch on it, but things like diabetes and heart disease. Now, both of those conditions can affect your mobility and the health of the rest of the body, including your bones, tremendously. And both of those conditions have been shown to be more prevalent in people who sit for longer periods of time. So just another reason to break that up. What do I mean with active breaks? Well, it's okay to go and just make a cup of coffee or cup of tea because you're standing up, but it would actually be better if you can just get things moving. So maybe do a flight of stairs, or stand on one spot and wait for the kettle to boil, but march up and down, because that will give you impact through your bones and it will get things moving. And it will likely be a starting point for conversation if one of your colleagues catches you. But yes, go and be innovative with what you want to do with that. So lastly, I've told you now that you need to move every day, and you've got to do some sort of exercise every day that has impact, and you've got to do strength training 2 or 3 times a day. But there is no limit to what you can do to achieve these things. And the main thing, if you want exercise to become part of your life and a habit that you stick to, it's got to be fun. So find something that you like. If you go to a Pilates class and you find it terminally boring, then go try something with higher impact. Loads of classes at the gym, even body combat and things like that. That works a lot of balance, lots of strength. So go find something that's at the pace that you need. Pain may predict what you do, so it's got to be pain-free. It's got to be, sometimes you've got to start with the boring things like Pilates first, and then after 6 months, actually you find that now you can move on to other things. What I will say is if you have got severe osteoporosis and you are at risk of fracture, you must think about the type of movements you do in these classes. So if you think, for instance, in yoga, if you've got osteoporosis in your back and your neck, you don't want to do things like taking your legs back over your head and stuff like that. It's got to be low risk movements then, but there's still plenty of things that you can do. So yes, that touches on point 2, which is that it's got to be the right type of exercise for you. And then thirdly, it has to be progressed over time. If you just do the same type of exercise at the same intensity every time, you won't see progress because the brain will just go, yeah, we're as strong as we need to be. If you want it to be stronger, you have to increase the distance you walk or run. You've got to increase the weights that you're picking up or that you're exercising with, or just the time you're doing it for. So if you find that 5 kilos is enough, then just do more repetitions as you get stronger with it. But you have to increase the intensity in some form or way. It doesn't have to be by masses. If you're really struggling with walking or cycling or anything at the moment, then adding 1 or 2 minutes on is even already enough. So go and play with that. And again, I will say, especially if you find yourself in a situation where you're trying things, but you just find everything makes your pain worse, or things doesn't work for you, or you're struggling to stick with a program, then find somebody that can actually help you provide pain relief if you need it, but also provide a program that's very graded and allows you to slowly return to activity and increase these things that you need. Now, this is a small portion of what you need to be doing for bone health, and I've written blog posts in the past about diet and vitamin D and stuff like that. You can't just take one little bit. You've got to get it all right. And I'll put a link to that in the comments of this video actually, so that you can read that blog post as well. So let me know if you've got any questions, and if you need help with an injury, we can do an online consultation via video call, and I can provide a treatment plan for you that's specifically for your needs. So let me know if you need any help. Take care. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn more about preventing sports injuries, make sure you hit the subscribe button. See you next time.